What is happening? I don't know what happened! I'm so sorry. Okay, I gotta get my face cam back again. Come on, come on. I have no idea what just happened there. Legit, I am so freaking sorry. I do not know what happened. Just gonna quickly... The fuck? What is with my bitrate? It is looking... I am so confused. I'm so confused as to what just happened. What the heck? Okay, what the absolute fuck? I am so sorry. I don't know what happened there. Like, legit, I don't know what happened. Okay, that's just a large fly that's in my room. That's not a wasp. Alright, good. I am so sorry. I don't know what happened. Like, legit, what just happened? Everything just crashed for a minute for me. That was weird. But yeah, what? I am so sorry. I'm gonna edit the name real quick till we're back. Still writing chapters 16 to 20 of Winter Turning. Done. Okay. Okay, that was weird. That was legit so weird. I do not know what just happened there. Honestly. Fuck. But yeah. Yeah. That was weird, to say the least. I have not had that happen to me before. Like, it just... my Streamlabs ended up looking like I could only, like, you know, see the screen, like, how my stream looks. Everything else was just gone. I couldn't even close it down normally. That was incredibly weird. All because my Microsoft crashed? What? I'm so sorry. But we're back again. We're back again. Welcome back. I hope you found your way here again. Sorry. Okay, let's continue. There was an awkward pause. Winter, Hailstorm, and Quibbly glanced sideways at one another, shuffled their wings, and squinted thoughtfully at the sky. "I'll be in the garden," Quibbly said finally, edging away. Hailstorm stomped over to stick his nose in the neighbor's pond, muttering something like, "Don't even know why I'm here." This seemed like a good time for pacing, which Winter did, until he realized he had accidentally trampled some bright yellow flowers poking up around the base of the house. He stepped back and tried to keep still. Maybe he could still see something through the windows. He explored around the side of the house until he found a window open and large enough to poke his head in. From here, he could see a round, sunlit room, clean and uncluttered. The only furniture was a large, plain white table in the middle of a few shelves on one wall that held neatly labeled bottles and jars. Kinkajou was lying on her back on the table, looking smaller than ever with her wings flopping helplessly to either side. A brown dragon with a wide, flat face was examining Kinkajou. Her talons moved professionally over the dragonette, checking her wings, her bones, her head. She paused for a moment, glancing from Kinkajou's tail to her snout. "Is this a rainwing?" "Yes," Moon answered. "Her name is Kinkajou." "Interesting," said the doctor. "Never seen one before. The white scales made me think Icewing at first." "She looks nothing like an Icewing!" Hailstorm exploded with great indignation, poking his nose over Winter's shoulder and making Winter jump. "Get out of my window!" the doctor snapped with a hiss. "Stop blocking the light! Shoo!" She flapped her wings, taking a few limping steps in their direction. Winter realized that the doctor's back left leg and half her tail were covered in unmistakable frostbreath scars, blackened and blistered, with 2 claws missing. She'd been in battle with Icewings within the last year, if he had to guess, which meant she probably didn't feel too kindly toward ice dragons in general. Sorry, he said, pushing Hailstorm back. "Go sit in the garden," she barked, slamming a jar down on the windowsill that smelled something was stabbing his eyeballs. "Garden, yes, absolutely," Winter said. He grabbed Hailstorm's tail and tucked him toward the back of the house. Winter didn't have a lot of experience with the gardens, but he suspected they didn't usually go up quite as much as this one did. 7 trees ringed the small plot of land, each of them exploding with different fruits and flowers. Vines scaled the back wall of the house, covered in blue and gold flowers, and various ferns and shrubs took up almost all the ground space. In the center of everything, there was a tower that looked as if it was made of glass, with overflowing flower pots and seed trays on each level, piled up to the height of the trees. Quibbly was flying around the top of the greenhouse tower, studying a plant that looked like dark purple dragon tongues, but he flew down when he saw the stem through the trees. "Kind of a great idea," he said, flipping one wing at the ascending levels of glass. "I'll have to remember to tell Thorn." "Excuse me," Hailstorm said bossily to Winter, ignoring Quibbly. "Why were you obeying a Mudwing's orders?" This sounded so much like his real brother that Winter's spirits arose, until Hailstorm added, "They report to Skywings, not the other way around." Quibbly regarded him thoughtfully. He's really confused, isn't he? You think? Winter growled. Imagine being a totally different dragon all of a sudden, Quibbly said, with completely different memories. That would be very unsettling. Oh, really? Winter said. Do you think that's what's wrong? What a useful insight! I hadn't thought of that. All right, Grouchy, Quibbly said, giving Winter an affectionate, exasperated glare. I'm just expressing sympathy over here. I realize that's an unfamiliar concept for ice wings. I don't need a sandwing feeling sorry for me, Hailstorm said stiffly. It seems like an awfully complicated spell, though, Quibbly said after a moment. What kind of animus would agree to waste his power and lose bits of his soul just to hide a prisoner? Why wouldn't Queen Scarlet demand something more dramatic? Come to think of it, if she has an animus Nightwing, why isn't she queen again already? Right now? She could use him to get rid of Ruby in a million different ways. Winter had no idea. It didn't make sense to him either. He opened his talons and looked down at the crumpled pouch and the chain that Hailstorm had been wearing. At the sight of them, Hailstorm shuddered violently. I'm supposed to wear that, he cried. It can't ever come off. I'll die if it does. He stopped, felt his throat for a moment, and covered his eyes with a groan. Alright, I hear myself. What's in there? Quibbly asked, leaning closer to study the necklace. Winter carefully picked at the knot that tied the pouch closed. He wished his claws were a little smaller. The knot was very tight. Whatever was in there was never meant to come out. Finally, he was able to hook one claw under the knot and slice it open. The rope fell away, and he poked the pouch open, shaking the contents into his other palm. A small folded piece of paper fell out, crumbled around the corners. He peeked into the pouch and shook it a bit more. There was nothing else in there. Careful, Quibbly said, his talons twitching toward the paper. Don't rip it. Unfolding the paper was an even more delicate operation than opening the pouch. But at last it was done, revealing words scribbled in a dark red ink. Some of them were faded or caught in the wrinkles and hard to read. Winter found a patch of sunlight where he could smooth it out on a flat rock. What does it say? Quibbly asked. Hailstorm was watching curiously too. Maybe if he heard the spell, he'd realize that it wasn't real and be able to stop thinking about pyrite. Okay, Winter said, puzzling over the note. It says, enchant this paper so that when any dragon wears it in the form of a necklace, he or she shall fully become a female skywing named Pyrite with the following conditions. 1. Completely loyal to Queen Scarlet and the Skywing tribe. 2. Insecure and weak. 3. No memory of his or her former identity. 4. Compelled to wear this necklace at all times with life or death urgency. The writing was cramped and filled every inch of the paper, front and back. Winter suspected that everything from with the following conditions on had been added after the first part, as though it had been tailored specifically and spitefully for Hailstorm. Wow, Quibbly said. That is weird. I thought Animus Dragons just thought their spell is to enchant whatever they wanted to Animus touch. I didn't know they ever wrote them down. He leaned over to tap the edges of the scrap of paper. The This looks like it was torn from a larger piece. Maybe a scroll, since it still wants to roll that way. Did you hear that? Winter asked, turning toward Hailstorm. See? Pyrite was just a spell. Now you're your real self. It was staggering to him how unconvinced Hailstorm looked. Here was evidence, written proof that his life as Pyrite was all a lie. And yet Hailstorm kept sneaking looks at his claws as if they might change back at any moment. Winter folded the paper back up and crammed it into the pouch. He took the chain, threaded it through the pouch strings again, and tied the knot with the broken links. What are you doing? Quigley asked, in a tone of voice that suggested he knew perfectly well what Winter was doing. I sense a terrible idea coming on. I need to see what it feels like, Winter said. While you're here, too. Well, I'm not alone. But it will turn you into Pyrite, who, let's face it, it's no great loss to the world. I mean, it's a tough call, but I'm pretty sure we'd rather have you. Reasonably sure. Like, 80% sure. Winter whacked one of Quigley's wings with his own. This isn't a joke. I want to know how it works. I want to know what Hailstorm felt like, being her. I think, well, maybe it'll help me understand what he's going through. I get it, Quigley said, nodding slowly. It just seems like a risk. I mean, look at him. What if it messes you up the same way? That's not going to happen, Winter said. I'll only wear it for a moment. But that's what you're here for, to take the necklace off me, because I won't be able to do it myself. Don't let me be Skyping for more than 3 minutes, alright? I don't want her in my head any longer than that. Hang on, let me see the paper. Quigley held out his talons, and Winter passed over the necklace. The sandwing fished the scrap out of the pouch and read it over, and then, before Winter realized what he was doing, Quigley carefully tore a tiny piece of off the bottom. What did you just do? Winter demanded, flaring his wings. I ripped off number 4, Quigley said. The part about needing to wear the necklace all the time. Let's see if that makes it possible for you to take it off yourself. He stuffed the spell back into the pouch. Winter accepted the necklace back, disgruntled. It hadn't even occurred to him to try changing the spell. What if it didn't work now? He realized, though, that he wasn't really upset. A large part of him didn't expect the scroll to work on him anyway. Even with a pyrite mask on, as Moon had called it, he'd still be Winter underneath. Alright, he said, taking a deep breath. Here we go. He dropped the necklace over his head. End of chapter 17. Okay. That was actually perfect timing for the music. Okay, Winter's turning into pyrite now. Alright, hydration, real quick. Badoosh. Woo. Alright, chapter 18. Whoa, where am I? Pyrite looked around, blinking. Was this a garden? Why did everything smell like peaches on the ocean? Hadn't she been in the mountains just a minute ago? At night? Her brain was so useless. And there were so many things she couldn't remember because she wasn't any good at anything. 3 moons. It was awful being so pathetic. What just happened? She asked, turning in a lumbering circle. There go my stupid talons! Getting in the way as usual. I wish I weren't so clumsy and useless. The Sandwing was standing nearby, watching her in a super weird way. Did we find Queen Scarlet? She asked. A surge of powerful emotion rolled through her scales. The Queen, her most wondrous majesty, Queen Scarlet always knew what to do. She was such an amazing dragon. Pirate missed her awfully. When she'd lived in the Sky Palace, she'd found a way to see the Queen every day, even if it was just from a distance. I'm glad I'm a Skywing. She looked up at the clouds, streaked with pink and gold in the blue sky. She could be soaring up there, her wings fully extended, diving and spinning like she used to with the other Skywing dragonettes. They were freer than any other tribe, more loyal to one another and more independent. Queen Scarlet trusted them to make decisions in battle without her. They were the smartest, fastest dragons in all of Pyria. I am completely loyal to Queen Scarlet. One day she would see her queen again, and then everything would be alright. It would feel like coming home. It would feel like flying. Pyrite, the Sandwing said slowly. What was his name again? How do you feel? Oh, fine, she said. Her memory was a little fuzzy, but that wasn't worth mentioning. Where are the other 3? Do you remember anything about Winter? He asked. You mean like that he's an enormous grump? Pyrite said. She saw silvery scales moving out of the corner of her eye and turned. But it was a different Icewing, bigger than Winter, staring at her. What was his problem? He looked as if she was his mother back from the dead or something. Like he knew her, although she was sure she'd never seen him before. Yuck! Icewings. Can I look at your necklace? The Sandwing asked. Pyrite glanced down and realized she had some kind of pouch on a chain around her neck. Huh, she said. Sure, I guess. As she reached for it, she felt a twinge of, should I do this? And then she was lifting it over her neck. And then she was gone. Winter dropped the necklace as if it were made of lava and leaped away from it. Yeah! He shouted. He clawed at his head. Get her out! Get her out! Winter is over, Quibbly called, catching his talons. You're you again. She's not real. But Winter could still feel Pyrite's scraping, painful thoughts like a damp mildew lingering around his mind. No wonder Hailstorm was so disturbed. Pyrite's thinking was not just different from his own personality, but it had an insidious dullness to it that left a miasma after only a few minutes. He couldn't imagine living with it for 2 entire years and then trying to shake it all off. Except for the part about being a Skywing, loyal to Scarlet. That part was crystal clear in a shiny way that was equally horrible. Winter had known with the logical part of his mind that other dragons were loyal to their tribes, but obviously they were wrong. Icewings were the greatest tribe in Pyria, and that was a fact. Except now that he had this memory of believing the same thing about Skywings, and believing it with all his heart, was that really how Skywings felt? And Seawings, and Rainwings, and even Nightwings? He did not want to try turning into any other dragons to find out. He turned to pick up the pouch again, perhaps to destroy it, to rip the scroll and Pyrite's very existence into tiny shreds. and found Hailstorm reaching for it. "No!" Winter shouted, snatching it out of his grasp. "Hailstorm, don't even touch it!" "Maybe I should change back," Hailstorm said, his face twisting as though crocodiles might come crawling out of it. "At least when I'm Pyrite, I only have one set of memories, right? That's what the scroll said. And I was happy as a Skywing. It was easier than being an Icewing. No rankings, no one comparing me to everyone else all the time. No mother and father expecting me to be perfect. And I had fire. Fire was amazing. Winter, please let me change back." "That is completely insane," Winter said. He tried to make his voice as cutting off as their mothers. "When you're fully yourself again, you'll recognize that there is nothing preferable about being a Skywing. No one would ever choose to be anything but an Icewing." Quickly cleared his throat significantly, and Winter shot him a glare. The problem was, he felt it now. Not the desire to be Pyrite, but the appeal of being a Skywing. He couldn't let Hailstorm see that, though. He needed to be strong so that Hailstorm could be, too. I need to just see. Oh, okay, it's not that long, actually. "You'll never be Pyrite again," Winter said. Get that through your frozen head." Hailstorm growled furiously, and for a moment Winter wondered if he would actually attack his brother to get the necklace back. But finally Hailstorm spun on his heels and marched to the far end of the garden, where the trees gave way to a street that was starting to be crowded with dragons and rolling carts. "Good speech," Quibbly said. "Well, kind of mean, but in a convincing way." "I need to be alone for a minute," Winter said. Quibbly raised his wings and stepped back with a little bow of acknowledgement. Winter needed to straighten out his own brain. He'd wanted to step into Pyrite's talents so he could understand Hailstorm, but he didn't want to understand him this well. He sat down under a fig tree and closed his eyes, taking deep breaths. "I am Winter the Icewing. I have always been an Icewing." Slowly, the Pyriteness began to clear. "I am Winter the Icewing. I am loyal to Queen Glacier. I will reach the top of the rankings one day." What would life have been like as a Skywing? Would he really have loved the tribe of Sky Dragons that much? "I am Winter the Icewing. Be strong, be vigilant, strike first. Trust nobody." His father's mantra didn't quite sit right in his mind anymore. But that wasn't because of Pyrite. It was because of Quibbly and Kinkajou and, most of all, Moon. As he thought of her, he heard a door close and opened his eyes to see her emerging from the back of the doctor's house. "I am Winter the Icewing. I do not make friends with dragons from other tribes. I am not in love with a dragon I am sworn to hate." "But you are! Come on! You're in love with Moon!" Ugh. "Is Kinkajou alright?" Quibbly asked Moon. Winter stood up and went over to join them. He glanced over at his brother as he did, and saw him standing under a tree with round orange fruit, banging his head on the trunk. Winter sighed. Moon shook her head, curling her tail around her talons. "She has a skull fracture and 3 or 4 broken ribs," she said. She sounded as though she was trying to imitate the doctor's professional delivery, but her voice wavered as she spoke. "And a hairline break near one elbow and bruising all along her spine and left side. The doctor says she needs to stay completely still for probably a month, maybe longer." "Is she awake?" Winter asked. "No," Moon ducked her head, shaking back tears. The doctor doesn't know when Kincatcher might wake up. Mayfly stuck her snout out one of the back windows and beckoned to Moon. I need your authorization on this, she said, brandishing a small scroll and an ink pod. To have her transferred to the clinic. They'll take care of her. Although, they'll want to know what really happened to her. I told you, Moon said with a hint of exasperation. A dragon attacked her. Are you sure? The doctor asked. She wasn't hit by an avalanche, or thrown off a cliff, or trampled by a herd of hippos. That really happened to a patient of mine once. There's no shame in admitting it. Hippos can happen to anyone. Just a dragon knocking her into a tree, Moon said firmly. She took the scroll and ink pod, dipped her claw into the black ink, and signed her name. I promise. I saw it too, Winter agreed. He was really big, Quibbly offered. Super dragon strength, Mayfly muttered skeptically. She took the scroll back from Moon and stomped back inside. Moon looked around, then carefully set the ink pot on the windowsill. Oh, good, Quibbly said. So our new mystery Nightwing friend has inexplicable animus powers and unusual strength. Super. Also, now he hates us, don't forget, Winter added. But you saw what we did to his face, Moon said. Between my fire and your frost breath, he's probably much less dangerous now. The creeping spider legs feeling under Winter's scales suggested otherwise. In his experience, no good could come from adding vengeance to a dragon's list of reasons to get up in the morning. Oh. Oh. Oh, this is not going... Uh-oh. I accidentally read ahead and... Uh-oh. Eagle! Hailstorm shouted suddenly, sending a jolt of alarm through Winter. He whirled around to see his brother at the back gate, craning his neck to see over a sea wing pulling a fish-laden cart. Eagle! Hailstorm called again, his voice full of excitement. Eagle, over here! Uh-oh, Quibbly muttered. Winter bolted over to his brother's side as a large skywing of the color of raw tuna shouldered his way through the crowd and stared down at them. Two more burly skywings stepped up behind him, glowering. Oh crap. This is Pyrite's memories. Oh crap. How do you know my name? The Skywing demanded. Who are you? I'm... Hailstorm faltered. But aren't you... We fought together under General Ruby. She's Queen Ruby now, Eagle snapped. And I don't remember fighting any Ice Wings and leaving them alive. He eyed Hailstorm up and down. I suppose if I did, that's a mistake that could be corrected. But how did he know your name? Asked one of the other Skywings. Right, Eagle said, his eyes narrowing to slits. Explain that, Whale Eater. He doesn't, Winter started, but Eagle growled low in his throat, cutting him off. Let the lizard speak. Crap. Shit. Okay. Sorry. I'm reading ahead. I'm sorry. When it gets really interesting, I just stop thinking and then just look ahead to see where things are going. And it's not on purpose either. Anyway, Hailstorm stammered for a minute and finally mumbled, I thought we were friends. He rubbed his eyes miserably. The two flanking Skywings looked incredulous. Eagle swelled with fury. What? He roared. He lashed out, reaching over the gate and grabbed Hailstorm by the throat. How dare you! I would never be friends with an Icewing. Is this a joke? Did someone pay you to make a fool out of me? He didn't mean it, Winter yelled, trying to pull Eagle's talons off his brother. He's just confused. Quibbly darted up on Hailstorm's other side and grabbed the Skywing too. He was hit on the head. He was hit on the head, Winter Quibbly explained quickly. A war injury. His memory's all messed up. Please don't hurt him, Winter cried. Hailstorm's face was turning bluer than usual. Drop that Icewing right now, said another voice behind Winter. He turned and saw Meerkat standing in the garden beside Moon, aching his venomous tail menacingly. I order you by the authority of the Enclave. To Winter's surprise, Eagle immediately let go of Hailstorm. The Icewing collapsed back against the tree, gasping for breath. Sorry, the Skywing said to Meerkat, all the rage gone from his voice. Didn't realize he was with you, Meerkat. He took a step back. He was saying some mighty stupid things, that's all. Head injury, Quibbly said again. Winter crouched beside his brother, but Hailstorm pushed him away. Oh, another wounded veteran, Eagle said. All three Skywings were nodding. I've seen plenty of those. Hope he recovers. He jerked his chin at Winter, then turned and shoved his way back into the throng, half of whom had stopped to stare at the fight. Moving right along, Meerkat said, waving at the audience until they all started moving again. It was just a mistake, Hailstorm, Winter said to his brother in a low voice. You've only been out from under the spell for a few hours. Give it some time. You'll forget all about Pyrite once you're surrounded by Icewings again. Hailstorm shook his head. Winter didn't know if that meant disagreement or despair. Winter, Hailstorm croaked softly. Winter leaned closer to hear, and Hailstorm turned hopeless blue eyes up toward him. Winter, I want to go home. End of chapter 18. 2 chapters to go. Alright, quick hydration. Garush. Hope you're all staying hydrated as well. Just like, please. We got 2 chapters to go today, and then we'll take the rest tomorrow. Chapter 19. You're leaving now? Moon asked, dismayed. I have to get him back to the Ice Kingdom, Winter said, glancing over at Hailstorm. His brother was sitting at the base of the greenhouse tower, with his wings folded close around him and his face hidden. I feel like he won't be safe until he's with our tribe again. And then he'll remember he's really an Icewing. I hope. But Kinkaju... Moon started, then trailed off. There's nothing I can do for her, Winter pointed out. Right? We're just waiting until she wakes up. Moon looked down at her claws, leaving the "if she wakes up" unsaid. None of you can come with us to the Ice Kingdom anyway, Winter said. You should go back to the Jade Mountain. No way, Quibbly said, and Moon glanced up at him in surprise. We have to fight the lost city of night. Remember the thunder and ice, earth shaking, ground being scorched, all of that. I don't know about you, but I'm in favor of that prophecy not coming true. Now that we found Hailstorm, I say it's time to get to the top of that whole saving the world thing. Get on top of the whole saving the world thing. And that's what I was going to do, Moon cried. I've been having these awful nightmares every night. I mean, worse than ever. I've got to figure out the prophecy, but I wasn't sure if anyone would want to come with me. Me, Quibbly said, waving a wing at himself as though that was as obvious as the sun. Sign me up. Moon turned hopeful eyes toward Winter. Maybe after you take Hailstorm home? She asked. Then you could come back and we could all look for the lost city of night together? He wanted to say yes. He wasn't even sure which reason was strongest. Was it because he believed the world needed saving? Because he wanted to protect Jade Mountain? Or because he couldn't stand the idea of Moon and Quibbly searching Pyria alone, together? I can't, he said. That's why. Because he hadn't wanted to watch her face do this crumbling into disappointment. But there were 50,000 reasons why he couldn't say yes. Reasons like Moon's safety if Winter's parents found out about her. Reasons like needing to prove his loyalty to the Ice Wings and struggle back into the rankings. Reasons like his own sanity. I can't, he said again. All at once he was aware of Hailstorm standing behind him, listening. Hailstorm's blue eyes watching Winter's next move. Crap. Oh crap, I read ahead again, I'm sorry. But oh crap. He's about to say some shit. Winter, you're an idiot. Listen, get this into your head. I'm an Ice Wing. He hated that it came out sounding almost like a question. It wasn't like Hailstorm. He knew who he was. I'm an Ice Wing, he said again, firmly. That means I belong in the Ice Kingdom with my own tribe. I should never have gone to Jade Mountain. This prophecy, if it's even real, has nothing to do with me, and I should have nothing to do with you. But, Moon said, I thought... She reached toward him, her dark eyes puzzled and hurt. What, that we were friends? Winter spat, shoving her talons away. We can't be friends. We can't be anything. We can never be what I would dream of us being. You're my sworn enemy, Nightwing. I never asked for you to follow me around. Hey, Quibbly said. He sounded genuinely angry. Don't talk to her like that. She helped you find your brother and she risked her life to do it. What is wrong with you? It's alright, Moon said, brushing Quibbly's wing with her own. Her eyes flickered to Hailstorm, close behind Winter. He's striking first, that's all. Winter, I believe that you're one of the best, bravest, truest dragons in Pyria. I'll never be your enemy, no matter what you say. But go ahead and leave if that's what you want. It's not what I want. His chest felt as if it might burst, spilling shattered ice everywhere. That's how things have to be. We'll wait for you, Quigley said, right here, in case you change your mind and realize that stopping a big, world-destroying prophecy is what you were hatched to do. Don't bother, Winter said, hoping his cold snarl was still as intimidating as he'd once been able to make it. 1 week, Moon said, glancing at Quigley for confirmation. We can wait 1 week, and then we're leaving. Then you're idiots. I don't care, Winter nearly shouted. Why did it have to be so impossible? How could they still even want to be his friends when he was pushing them away so hard? 3 moons! Leave me alone! He turned to Hailstorm. Let's go. As he spread his wings and leaped into the sky, Quigley called, Don't be a stranger. And he thought he heard Moon say, We'll miss you. Hailstorm soared into the lead, his wings glittering silver and white with reflections of rose from the setting sun ahead of them. He grinned over his shoulder at his little brother, the first happy expression Winter had seen from him all day. Winter forced himself to look away. He would not look back at the garden, at the black and pale yellow dragons watching him go. He would not admit to himself that he would miss them too. He would ice over that hole in his chest, the way he'd cleared out Pyrite's memories. Ahead were his parents and Queen Glacier, and he would need to be perfect again before he faced them. The Ice Kingdom was waiting for him. End of chapter 19 and end of part 2 of the book, and we're now starting on part 3 of a book called Beneath the Ice. And we have 1 chapter left of the day, and I need to hydrate real quick because I can feel my voice. Not my voice. My throat is starting to feel a bit sore. Sorry. Okay. Last chapter of the day, people. Chapter 20. Winter and Hailstorm reached the southern border of the Ice Kingdom the next day at twilight. A few stars and 1 claw-shaped moon were already glimmering in the violet sky. Winter could see the great ice cliff that marked the border, stretching from one horizon to the other in a sheer, unbroken line. Hailstorm squinted at it as they approached. Is that a wall? He asked. What's the point of that? A wall can't keep out dragons. You don't remember the Great Ice Cliff? Winter replied, startled. It's probably our oldest animus gift. Hailstorm shrugged. Seems like a waste of magic, he said. We're going to fly right over it. Right, because we're ice wings, Winter said. But if we were from any other tribe, the Great Ice Cliff would shoot icicle spears at us, most likely kill us. It's secret defensive magic. The other tribes don't know about it. Usually no one else ventures this far north anyway, but if they did, they'd get a chilly, tiny surprise. Hailstorm balked in midair. What if it doesn't let me past? He cried. It will, Winter said, a little irritated. You're an ice wing, Hailstorm. The wall will recognize that, and so will everyone else. His brother did not look convinced. but some of his old bravado seemed to be coming back, even if he was scared. He was clearly determined not to show it. Even if he was scared, he was clearly determined not to show it. Of course, the wall did not react as they flew over it. Winter remembered the last time it had gone off, a year and a half ago, when one of Blaze's sandwings had apparently decided to wrap herself in a few blankets and explore the mysterious Ice Kingdom. They'd found her what must have been days later on the north side of the wall. She was half buried in a snowdrift with a spear through her heart, her sky-colored blankets frozen to her scales. So at first they thought she was a sea wing. Oh, sorry. That was out of the blue, sorry. Other than that, the wall had been quiet for Winter's entire life. The other tribes didn't know about it, but they did know about the sub-zero temperatures and freezing wind in the Ice Kingdom. Even during the War of Sandwing Succession, no one had dared send troops into their territory. It would have been a complete massacre if they had. Which made Winter think about the Animus who had built and enchanted the wall thousands of years ago. The Gift of Defense, it was called. Was it worth it? Was it worth it at the time? Were there more attacks in the kingdom back then? Were there dragons from the other tribes who had figured out how to survive in the Arctic cold long enough to stage an invasion at least? Or perhaps the Animus was looking forward, not back. Perhaps he anticipated the day when some other tribe's Animus might craft heat-generating armor that could carry soldiers into the farthest reaches of the north. But if someone did that, why conquer a land you couldn't possibly live in? In any case, if Winter were an Animus dragon, building a wall like that would not have been his major contribution to Icewing society. The Ice Kingdom didn't need defensive magic. What it needed now was someone to help them conquer other tribes. If they still had Animus power, they could have won the War of Sandwing Succession in no time at all. And then all the territory Blaze had promised Queen Glacier would now be theirs. More important, no Icewing soldiers would have had to die, and Hailstorm would never have ended up as Scarlet's prisoner. It all goes back to Ghostlayer. If she hadn't stolen Prince Arctic, imagine how powerful we could be now. We'd have another 2,000 years of Animus gifts. We could have been the rulers of all of Pyria. We definitely have something that helped us in battle. Exploding snowballs that killed every dragon they touch, or maps that tell us exactly where all our enemies are, or diamonds that hypnotize every other queen into surrendering to us. When he thought of the Icewing lives lost in the war and for nothing in the end, he wished he could climb back through time, find an Animus Icewing, maybe the one who wasted her gift on defense, and force her to make something that would wipe out all the Nightwings at once. Uneasiness whispered through his bones at that thought. A thought he'd had 100 times before, but now he could picture the Nightwings in their ramshackle rainforest village, trying to rebuild after the horrors of the volcano. He could remember the shivering dragonette in the wingery and the protective parents he'd seen, including Moon's mother. It was actually completely terrifying to think that any dragon with magic could easily wipe out an entire tribe with just one enchanted object. It was even more terrifying to realize that your own tribe no longer had that magic, but your worst enemies did. Why hadn't the Nightwings used Animus power to destroy the Icewings long ago? Did they have so little control over their Animus dragons, or so little vision of what their stolen magic could do? He worried around these questions as he and Hailstorm flew over the snowy landscape, dotted with sheer cliffs and pure blue lakes, and the sky grew darker and darker. A couple of white owls swept past below, pale flickers like moths in the moonlight, screeching to each other. A herd of shaggy caribou surrounded one of the lakes, stamping nervously as the dragons passed overhead. Winter thought about grabbing one to eat, but they'd already stopped earlier that day to hunt, and now, with home so close, he just wanted to get there and face the queen already. It was close to midnight when they saw the lights of Queen Galatia's palace ahead of them. Shimmering blue, green, silver, like captured starlight. The dark ocean acted as a mirror, sending the same lights dancing in blurred mimicry around the base of the palace. A galaxy of small lights spiraled out in 5 curved arms from the palace, illuminating the dwellings of lower aristocrats, their training schools that were open all night, and the shimmering ice sculpture gardens. Winter heard Hailstorm catch his breath beside him. "It's beautiful," he murmured. "I'd forgotten." "Wait until you see it up close," Winter said, his chest swelling with pride. The Ice Kingdom was beautiful, without question. He wished he could show it to Moon. But she would never get past the great ice cliff alive, and his parents would send her to the bottom of freezing lake if she did. They swooped down to land at the grand entrance of the palace, a set of crystal-studded gates about halfway up the central keep. The gates were carved in the shape of giant dragon wings, matching the small ice sculptures of dragons and wings and talons that topped all of the columns and finials. I'm just gonna check. Okay, it's not that long actually. Although it was possible to fly over the palace walls straight into the interior courtyards, it was considered gauche and therefore career suicide. According to protocol, visitors waited at the gates to be admitted. Queen Galatia's astonishing palace was also enemies-touched, the gift of splendor, designed, built, and enchanted centuries ago by a pair of Animus twins, with the magic that ensured its walls of ice would never melt, never crack, and never be harmed by outside attack. It soared miles into the air, with towers and balconies and spires that pierced the clouds. There were so many rooms on so many levels that Winter, who had lived there his entire life, had never seen them all. A low-ranked guard stood outside the gates, wearing the chain of 5 concentric silver circles that marked him as 5th circle in the adult rankings. His posture and form were perfect, although his eyelids were drooping dangerously. He snapped to attention as they landed, stamping his spear twice. "Nephews of Queen Glacier," Winter announced, although he was sure the guard must recognize him. He hesitated. Icewing etiquette demanded that the higher-ranked dragon should be introduced first, but Hailstorm wasn't even listed in the rankings anymore. His name has been scratched out long ago with all the other murdered Icewing prisoners. But surely the correct introduction was still Hailstorm and Winter, wasn't it? The god saved him the trouble. "Winter?" He blinked and rubbed his eyes violently. He said, "Hailstorm?" He blinked and rubbed his eyes violently. "Aren't you Hailstorm?" "I guess," Hailstorm answered in the least convincing tone of voice possible. The god couldn't hide how rattled he was, although he did his best. "My apologies, sir," he said, bowing. "We believed you were dead. It is a wondrous day indeed that you are returned to us." "We should report straight to the Queen," Winter said. "She'll want to be woken for this if she's not still awake." Thousands of years ago, ice wings must have been restricted to daylight hours, or some speculated, perhaps their night vision had once been stronger, but nobody said that too loud, lest it sound like criticism of the Animus gift or the royal family. But ever since the gift of light, they could stay up all night long if they wanted to, and many of them did, seizing every hour they could for working and training. Queen Glacier is on a diplomatic mission, the god said, flinching in a strange, embarrassed way. Brother Narwhal is overseeing palace matters in her absence. Right now, he is at work on the rankings in the courtyard. Our father, Winter thought. Beside him, Hailstorm's wings twitched. Thank you, Winter said to the god with a small nod. The older Icewing looked slightly outraged, but he stepped aside and let them pass without further comment. It wasn't until they were through the gates that Winter realized he might have handled that interaction entirely wrong. He'd approached it with his last known rank in mind. He'd been in the second circle the day he left for Jade Mountain Academy. But perhaps his position had slipped in his time away. Especially if Queen Glacier knew what had happened with Icicle. If he'd fallen into a circle below that of the god, Winter should have been much more differential. But surely it couldn't have dived so low in just a few weeks. Could it? Into the sixth circle? Winter had only ever gone that low after Hailstorm's capture. Hailstorm was silent as they flew through the vast entrance hall, spiraling down toward the three arched openings that led to the central courtyard. Winter glanced sideways at him, wondering if the familiar surroundings were helping clarify his memories. All around them, pale blue stars seemed to be drifting slowly through the otherwise bare, translucent walls of the palace. It wasn't until you got close to the walls that you could see the small glass snowflakes encased in the ice, glowing silvery blue as they fell, mimicking the weather outside. This was the gift of elegance, which Winter appreciated for its beauty, but thought was a waste of magic. The phosphorescent snowflakes must have been created in a time when Icewings were comfortable and didn't need anything more urgent. A time when they thought they would always have Animus dragons. Or perhaps it was enchanted by an Animus who was artistic but not very practical. Icewing history included a few Animus dragons who chose their gifts against the wishes of their queens. The gift of substance was one, a trio of holes in the ice located on the outskirts of the kingdom, where the poorest, weakest Icewings could reach into the dark ocean beneath and always pull out a seal. No Icewing who cared about the rankings, in other words, no aristocrat, would ever accept food that came so easily to their claws, however. It was a gift that only benefited the lowest of the kingdom, which made them seem narrow-minded and useless to all the Icewings Winter knew. But perhaps it would seem like a kinder, wiser gift in the eyes of other tribes. Rainwings, for instance, who took care of one another so easily and had apparently no hierarchy at all. Winter thought uncomfortably of all the dragons in possibility, like the wounded Mudwing who could use a source of food like that. Stop thinking about other tribes. Father will smell out on you. Oh. No more music? Huh? Are we done? Is there no more music? Aw. Well then. Now there's music again. Yeah. Winter had once dreamed that he was an Animus dragon, and in his dream he gave his tribe the gift of observation. A scavenger den in the Ice Kingdom constructed so the scavengers could survive without freezing. A perfect setup for Winter to study them. This was probably another example of a gift that the Queen wouldn't approve of. A couple of dragons in the hall did a double take as the brothers flew by, but Hailstorm didn't seem to notice. He swept unerringly through the center archway into the snow-covered courtyard, a vast space dominated by the two most important animus gifts in Icewing history, the gift of light and order. As a young dragonet, Winter had loved to climb the Tree of Light. His small, serrated claws would dig into the ice of the trunk and propel him up into the branches, where he could curl up and pretend he was sitting on one of the moons. Sometimes he would imagine he was the animus who created the tree, a dragon named Frostbite, according to his history tutor, who had spent more time and care on her gift than perhaps any other animus the tribe had ever seen. She had enchanted the ice to sculpt itself, like the designer of the palace or the great ice cliff. She'd spent years painstakingly carving the tree with her own claws, each branch and twig and frost-kissed leaf. For the first time, Winter wondered if Frostbite had left the Ice Kingdom for a while to study real trees. He'd spent enough time in actual forests now to realize that she had gotten the detail exactly right. The magic came once the tree was finished. The animus touch gave the tree a kind of eternal life, and, most important, the moon globes that grew on it all year round. To Winter's surprise, Hailstorm went to the tree and picked a globe right away, like most dragons did when they first arrived at the palace. Did that mean his instincts were kicking in? The globe floated quietly over his left shoulder, casting pale light that accentuated the shadows between his horns. Winter followed, choosing a light of his own and releasing it over his own shoulder. A small bud appeared instantly in its place on the branch, where a new moon globe would grow within a day or two. He turned and realized that everyone in the courtyard was staring at them. He hadn't even noticed the quiet murmur of conversation in the air until it abruptly stopped. 9 Icewings watched in silence as Hailstorm and Winter walked under the tree and down the long path to the wall of rankings. Standing in front of the rankings, watching them approach with a cold, unreadable expression, was their father, Narwhal. Winter didn't wait for Hailstorm to bow first. Whatever their respective rankings in whoever's mind, he couldn't face his father's gaze anymore. He dropped into a crouch, spread his wings, and bowed his head. The wet snow crept between his scales, comforting and chilling at the same time. Beside him, more slowly, Hailstorm did the same. In the long silence that followed, Winter imagined he could hear glaciers moving, the world spinning, the stars weeping softly. What is father thinking? He didn't dare look up. He knew Narwhal's expression wouldn't hold any clues anyway. So, Narwhal finally hissed in a voice that could slice an iceberg in half. My 2 sons have returned to me, one I thought could never come back. The other I hoped never would. Winter lifted his eyes, shocked into meeting Narwhal's gaze. Behind his father, the 7 circles of dragonet rankings blazed like comets against the dark sky. This wall was the gift of order, where every dragon in the aristocracy was listed. Their names were all carved into the ice, but enchanted so that the queen and her chosen advisors could slide them around like beads on an abacus. Abacus. I don't know how to say that word. I've never heard it before. Sorry. Every dragonette that hatched appeared here as soon as he or she was given a name. Every night the queen considered the current standings and changed them according to the rules and her own judgment. Winter spotted his name right away. In dead last, at the bottom of the 7th circle, was Icicle's name. And one step above her, second to last, lower than any of, was Icicle's name. Sorry, I'm gonna need to read that one more time actually. Winter spotted his name right away. In dead last, at the bottom of the 7th circle, was Icicle's name. And one step above her, second to last, lower than all the new hatched dragonettes on the list, lower than any royal had ever been before, was Winter. End of chapter 20. And that was the last chapter of the day. We'll take the last bit tomorrow. And oh my gosh, what a stream it's been. I had some technical problems. I've never had that before. Well, with games obviously. With like Little Nightmares and Minecraft, I've had difficulties there. But never with a reading stream. That's never happened. So I am so super sorry if that happened. Anyway, I'm going to end it here because it is it is 8:35 p.m. for me right now. And I just need to relax my back right now because I do not have the greatest posture. And I've ruined my back by sitting like this, basically. Crocheting for 4 hours gay. Like, oh dear. But yeah, remember to hydrate, do not dehydrate. If you do, I will come for you. Remember to treat others the way you want them to treat you. Just be kind overall, and yeah, I'll see you guys later. Well, later as in tomorrow, obviously. But yeah,